But he's also a big nerd. At home, he has a bunch of old computers. He told me his wife doesn't know how many computers he has. I think that is a good proxy for being a nerd. Give it up for Andrew!
Thank you. Okay, well, yes, my name is Andrew and I am a scientist. I feel like I'm at a support group, but anyway, the thing is that scientists, a lot of them, don't happen to be terribly religious. However, so many scientists are superstitious. This is a universal truth. And more about that in a minute, but first, you may have actually noticed I am in fact white. And the Native American people of America, or the Red Indians you used to be able to call them, they have a rain dance. So if they require their crops to do well, they do something involving lots of shouting and stamping and going around in a circle, and it causes rain to take place. But one thing you may not realise is that there is actually a British rain dance. Yes, you may not have seen this demonstrated. I can do this for you. It's rather straightforward. Yes, here is the British rain dance. Gosh, it does look like a nice day. I think we should go for a picnic. That magically causes rain to take place. Or if you want to guarantee catastrophe, you could also say, whoa, this is the ideal weather for a barbecue. Let's go get lots of burgers, sausages, and charcoal and head out to the park. You are guaranteed a blizzard if you say that. Seriously, avoid the P word, avoid the B word. These words spell disaster. And this is a universal thing. The number of times I've seen it happen. So, a friend of mine, they worked this out and they shared their secret with me because rather than planning a picnic, because kaboom, guaranteed disaster, they instead phoned their friends and planned a pumpkin. They called their friends and said, it's nice weather, let's have a pumpkin in the park. Everyone get all the sandwich ingredients you can, all of the lemonade, all of the cucumber, and let's just go have a pumpkin in the park. And they had a fantastic pumpkin in the park. No drops of rain fell on them because they managed to break the nature of reality. This is a universal constant. This is the only way that you can avoid catastrophe of weather. And this, this is not the isolated incident you think it is. Because after all, similarly, as a scientist, I have to produce lots of custom reagents for people in my group, yes, as the CRISPR wizard, or cloning consultant, as I prefer the term, or CRISPR whisperer, take your pick. Point is, people will order stuff from me, and then if I have a nasty setback, then I go to tell them, they'll always be in their office, they'll always be easily found if I have really lamentable news, like, sorry, I cannot do it on Friday, how's next Tuesday, is that too late? But if I have everything go right, everything is delivered, ready to go, are they there? Nope, I don't think so. In fact, usually it was to the point that I would arrive there and I go, the reagents are ready, where is Susan? And it's like, oh, she's on holiday. It's like, what? It's like when you go to a restaurant and you order your food and go to the bathroom and your food is being delivered to your table while you're in the bathroom. This was the phenomenon, and my colleagues, being scientists, they got wise to this. And so, when they actually had holidays in mind, they would order something from me right before departing, because they knew if they weren't there, then the odds of success were really, really high. They weren't there to receive bad news, therefore bad news ceased to exist. And so yes, they would come back with a lovely tan from their nice spot of Tenerife city breaking, and sure enough their reagents would be there gathering dust, ready for them to go with. And it doesn't even stop there, because many years ago, the group I work in, we were divided into two buildings for reasons I won't bore you with. Let's just call them building A and B. So I was in half A, and so was the professor. And the people in group B, like any good scientists, are lazy. They want to find the shortest, easiest solution to any problem. And rather than walking all the way from building B to A to see the professor, they wanted to make sure you'd be in. So it was clearly not so important they phoned the professor. They would instead phone me for some reason. Maybe they had my number memorized. Point was, I would get a phone call and they would say, is the professor in his office? Simple enough. So I would walk to the professor's office. I wouldn't say, hey, are you in? Because, it's obvious. I just stick my head around the door and see him. I'd go back to my office and say, yes, the professor is in the office. And as soon as that receiver hit the cradle, then like some kind of cartoon character, boom, the professor would shoot out the door to an extended lunch or a meeting or something. I made the professor disappear. And sure enough, 5 minutes later, my colleague comes over from building B, goes, "Where is he? You said he was there." It's like, he was there, I'm the boy who cried professor. But once again, the old scientific instincts kicked in. I thought, it's all about reality, isn't it? So, the next time I got a fateful phone call, and it's like, they're not going to make a liar out of me. So, I get a call, and they go, "Is the professor there?" It's like, 2 seconds. Over, stuck my head round the door. Sure enough, he there. Boogie on back, and I say the fateful phrase, but not fateful, "The eagle is in the nest." Repeat, "The eagle is in the nest." And surprisingly, they didn't go, "What?" They went, "I'm on my way." And sure enough, 5 minutes later, they caught the professor good and proper. And from that day forward, it was never a case of, "But he was there, I promise you." No, the eagle was always in the nest, because I managed to change reality by choice of words. Seriously, words have power. Words are magical, people. Anyway, but still on the whole angle of science thing, is that as a PhD, which I am, you have to go through a process of writing a big-ass thesis, which, let's not go through that, that's traumatic enough as it is. But that's not the biggest problem. At the end of your PhD, then you also have to go through a viva examination, which doesn't convey the awfulness of it. That basically, they get someone from inside your building, an internal expert, to basically go over your stuff with a fine-toothed comb. And because they think to themselves, wait a minute, what if that internal expert actually has coffee with you several times a week and thinks you're awesome? They might be biased. So, you have an external examiner, which you'd think, okay, there's no way they'll be biased because we picked them somewhere nice and far away, but they're still an expert, so you're going to be toast. They will have no fondness for you. They didn't take into account the human factor, because my internal examiner, a very prestigious and respected lady scientist, oh yes, and it turns out my external examiner was the single biggest fanboy of hers ever. So when I came into my viva, he was basically positively vibrating on the spot, like a kid at Comic-Con. "I can't believe I'm sitting next to her. She's so awesome. I'm right next to her. I'm in the same space." And so when he was meant to be asking deep, searching questions about the finer points of my thesis, and she was busy grilling me, she was keeping on getting distracted, while he would ask questions like, "Oh, that paper you did recently, oh, it was so good, I just can't get over it. Oh, it was just so insightful." So she could barely focus on actually examining me. I mean, it was a really weird set of circumstances, and it was actually my birthday, so it was the strangest birthday present ever. I swear they called it and said, "Okay, no more," because he was probably freaking her out, because he was like, "You are so amazing, oh wow." So after an hour and a quarter, they let me go. And people asked me, where did I hide the bodies? Because they assumed I just killed the pair. Because nobody finishes a viva in an hour and a quarter. Nobody. And it wasn't that good a thesis. But anyway, but the horrors don't stop there. Because also, as a scientist, you have to publish papers. Less dreadful than a whole thesis. They're smaller, cuter, but then you face a different kind of insidious menace. Reviewers. You send the paper away, and there's always, one reviewer will be, because there has to be two. The first reviewer will be like, "Oh, there's a spelling mistake in figure 2. I think you should show a bit more about that," or "I disagree with that source, could you maybe expand on that or get something else in?" All very reasonable, sane. But then, reviewer 2, I picture the head of the journal headquarters when they're picking the reviewers. It's like, "Sir, okay, we've got reviewer 1, he's prestigious, he's sane, he does stuff that is good, brilliant. Now reviewer 2, we've got this guy who's just gone through a messy divorce, his cat got run over, his car got repossessed, and 2 of his favourite postdocs ran away with each other. He sounds ideal, give him the paper." And reviewers 2 comments were always like, I hate you, that figure is crap, you have no reason to publish this ever, I want 16 more experiments. I mean, you've heard the joke that, death checks for Chuck Norris under his bed. Scientists check for reviewer number 2 under their bed. But, reviewer reviewers aren't always villains, because when I was a PhD student, and my professor, very prestigious fellow, but he would receive lots of papers constantly, and he was a very sane and sensible reviewer, so he was reviewer number one, clearly. None of that reviewer two crap. But one time, he received an email out of the blue, and this was technically a little bit naughty. Someone said, "Dear Professor, I suspect that you may have received a paper, such and such et al., for review. Now, I know you can't tell me if you did or didn't, but if you did, could you please tell the person who wrote it to do this experiment, because he's been flatly refusing, and you're the only person he's going to listen to." So that's the redemption story for a reviewer. They actually turned the reviewer to good, but I can neither confirm nor deny if they did or didn't order that. But you guys have been wonderful. Thank you so much.